Hey folks, welcome back to Only Best Fantasy Novels. My name is Robin, and today I want to talk about Falling in a Sea of Stars by Kristen. That's the 8th book in the Green Rider series. And I keep saying this, I say this every video, and I'm going to say it again. This series is absolutely my dark horse series of 2025. I did not expect to enjoy this series anywhere near as much as I did. Winterlight was probably the book before this one was probably one of my favorite, one of my top 3 in the series. So this book had a lot of had a high bar to clear where it comes to like me feeling like it maintains the quality of the series, and I'm happy to report I think it does. I very much think it does. So let's get into it. What is this book even about? So this picks up almost directly after the events of Winterlight and following the Second Empire Army's defeat at the hands of Sacradia. Carrigan. It seems like Carrigan should finally have a moment to catch a breath, catch a breather. With all that she's faced. Unfortunately, things don't quite pan out that way. She finds herself having to assume the reins of the Galadian clan in her father's absence, at a time when their business is pretty much on the brink of destruction. As if that's not bad enough, Mornaven the Black has reawoken and he's begun to assemble his forces, and most importantly of all, the final 2 wraiths, his final 2 key servants, are on the move and headed straight for Carrigan. So, yeah, some things are going on. Things are popping off. That's a gist of, like, in broad strokes, what goes on in this novel. But at the same time, it's just so much more that happens. As with all the previous books, you know, the big focus is on Carrigan and just the emotional trauma that she's going through over with these events that she's forced with. In this one, you know, we find her once again we find her facing a rather unique challenge, because she is the acting head of her clan, and acting head at a time when some major events are happening that just have like such a monumental impact on the clan, in terms of the business, in terms of the climate that they're facing. There is then there, of course, when there's blood in the water, it attracts the sharks, and she faces a rather personal challenge on that note. That it just honestly that entire sequence, it's it was, on one hand, it was kind of harsh to read because things like that do still very much happen in this day and age, and on the other hand, it was just absurd as a plot thread, as in terms of like the in terms of the threat that Carrigan faced as a result of it. It was just absurd, given just the complexity and the level of danger she faced with so many other she faces through so many other threads. And I'm specifically speaking of the friend of her grandfather who appears. If you know, you know. If you read the book, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So that particular thread, it was just serious yet absurd. And then there's just everything else that goes on in this book. You know, there's of course the constantly evolving Slowborn situation with Zachary. There's her complex relationship with the Green Riders, with the weapons, with so many different forces in here. So many different factions in here, you should say. And then, of course, there's when things really start to get rolling, and she faces the big challenge of this book, which was kind of messed up. There were parts in this book, like when you read what she goes through, like, it really had me wondering how much more can this girl take before she really breaks. I feel like I wonder about that every book, and then Kristen finds a whole new level of messed up to dump her in and to just shock an army, and that's very much the case in this book. Like, the situation that she finds her in is just ridiculously messed up on a whole new level. So yeah, like, emotional damage is pretty much the name of the game in these books, and that's very much the name of the game in this book, where it comes to Carrigan, to put it mildly. That being said, in terms of the plot progression, I think I'm happy with this book, because This book, more than any of the others in the series now at this point, it feels like we are finally starting to. It feels like we're finally starting to wrap up this series. Like we're given the premise of the initial book, the initial challenge that we're presented with. This series has gone on multiple tangents over the course of over the course of these novels, and this one feels like we're finally starting to home in on the end. It like I can easily imagine there being maybe two more books, and this series wraps up as like a 10-book series, given the direction that the story finally heads in. Like you can begin to see the beginning of the end with this particular book, because all factions are kind of accounted for by this stage. Unless Kristen Britain is going to introduce something brand new out of the blue, the stage is kind of being set towards a final confrontation, you can put it. So yeah, there is that to look forward to. Personally, I think my favorite part to read in this book is actually the character journey that Lala goes through, because given how we were first introduced to her as a character, what she goes through, the way it shaped her life, and then what we see of her in this particular story, especially given the crossroads she was at, that she didn't even know, where her life was held in balance by conflicting opinions between Carrigan and Zachary, and the way things initially seemed to go, and now what we see have unfold with her in this book, it adds a real wildcard element to her story that I think is going to make a key difference in what comes next. But her journey, particularly in this book, was one that I really enjoyed seeing, because it for me it felt like it felt like the kind of story that you don't see often in these type of epic fantasy series. It reads almost like a redemption arc in some ways, even though it's not. It's very much not a redemption arc. It's very much a story of growth in a rather interesting direction. But at the same time, the wholesomeness of it just had me feeling like this reads like a redemption arc, if that makes sense. So that's just a testament to just Kristen Britton's incredible character work, because this is a side character that I really shouldn't, like, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't seem like she should matter that much. But the way that Kristen Britton uses her character in this book, it really stood out to me. So there's that. What else to say? Like, this is a Green Rider book that delivers just everything that we love about the series. Just some amazing character journeys. Some set pieces I can really only think of as magical. Like when there's some sequences in here when Carrigan is going through some rather mystical moments, we shall say, and I can just kind of picturing those scenes in my mind's eye and that kind of thing. Like it was amazing to think of. And then there's just the whole like how everything kind of pieces together. Like at this point in the series, there's just so many different plot threads that are running, and Kristen Britton does a good job of weaving together a story that just keeps you hooked, keeps you engaged in it, even as she juggles these multiple plot threads, and she plays with them in just interesting ways. Like a simple thing, as simple as Lala's story arc, which like you didn't given. I already spoke about that, so I won't go into it again. But like that's an example of a story that she just manages to pull on in all the right ways to make you enjoy the series, and that's kind of one of the reasons why I keep coming back to this series, and why even when why I keep speaking so well of this series. It's well above and beyond anything I expected when I picked up that first book. And that's just that's not even everything I want to talk about, because of course we have the whole situation with surrounding the dire wall and all. Anyway, let's not get too much into the nitty-gritty of it. All in all, another great installment. You know, it delivers everything that we like about Kristen Britton's work at this point, which is just the wonderful character stories. Most importantly, a progression of the story where we can begin, where we can see an end in sight. We can finally see an end in sight to the series, which means, you know, things are popping off, and it just leaves me very excited to see when the next book is going to come. Which, given this one was released in September, I think I'm in for a bit of a wait. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on Falling in the Sea of Stars. If you've made this far into the video, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.